Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. We're live with other Manchester United news and transfer news because it's a bank holiday weekend. Well, Monday in the UK. If you're off, great. If you're not, not so great. Or maybe great. Maybe you love your job. I don't know. But let's get into it. And look, there is an Odion Ighalo blow, which I mean, where would you rank this? Where would you rank this in comparison to Angel Gomez? The story coming out this morning is that Odion Ighalo will return to Shanghai next week because Shanghai Shenhua, who own him, have said that they're not going to agree to an extension to the loan of Odion Ighalo, which is their right as the owner of the club, but it just doesn't feel right. And I think this is yet another thing of this virus that's disrupted our lives, that's taken lives, that's caused so much misery. When we put it into a football bubble, and it is a bubble, I remember what Clive Tilsley said on the show 6 weeks ago, it's the most important of the unimportant things. But football, to many of us, is a passion. And this Ighalo thing will be a byproduct of this horrible virus, that we won't get to see Ighalo playing for Manchester United again if he does go back, because we're not going to play a game until June, and they want him back in Shanghai, according to this report. Now, it is coming from the Daily Mail, which isn't necessarily accurate. Maybe this will develop a little bit more today. But the situation with Ighalo is simple. His contract is up next week at the start of June. Shanghai Shenhua pay him £300,000 a week. They want him to sign a new contract for another 2 years on £400,000 a week. Manchester United got him on loan for a £3 million deal and £130,000 a week, which runs to the end of May. Shanghai Shenhua are under no obligation to give him to us for the rest of the season. And Manchester United are not going to give him 30 million and 400k a week. So we're in a somewhat difficult situation, and people are saying sign him up, sign him up. It's very difficult for Manchester United to do that. What we want is a little bit of compassion. Now, I've heard people on Twitter saying, hold on a minute, the virus started in China, the least they can do is give us an Ighalo. And I don't know whether that's funny or whether that's not funny, but it would be nice if there was a little bit of a compassion in relation to Ighalo being allowed to stay at Manchester United because he wants to stay. And then he goes back to Shanghai at the end of July and keeps playing on, and he'll be fit from the Premier League. I think that is the solution here. And I hope that we can find that solution because, look, of course Shanghai can say he's coming back next week because our season starts and he's our player and we pay him a lot of money. But Manchester United, we've been paying him 130 grand a week for the last 2 months. He's not kicked a ball. We've paid him a lot of money. A lot of money. I mean, how many weeks have been in lockdown? 7 weeks. We've paid him nearly £1 million to do nothing. And he wants to stay. Odion Ighalo wants to complete the loan deal at Manchester United. I mean, I think his longer-term dream is to somehow get bought by us. I don't think that will happen, but he definitely supports this club. He's definitely put everything into this club. You see him back training. He looks happy. He wants to stay here for the rest of the season and I feel like he's just had a glimpse. He's had a little glimpse of United, and I think he deserves to get to the end of the season, and he'd certainly be an asset for us to have somebody off the bench. So I'm hoping that there can be some agreement, some compassion there, but it can't be an agreement from United where we're saying we'll give you 10 million for the player. We can't do anything stupid like that. But I'm hoping that Ighalo might put a bit of pressure on Shanghai, but ultimately they'll just say, mate, wait a minute, mate, we're paying you 300 grand a week. You're our player. Our season starts now. You come back, please. So we'll have to wait and see. We may well end up with a situation where we don't keep Ighalo. AA6 says we need a striker. Remember, this is a short-term thing. If Ighalo does go back next week, this is about completing the season, 9 games without Ighalo, which isn't ideal, but when the season ends, we'll go and buy a striker anyway. But I think what we're talking about is a short-term thing here, and I really do hope that Ighalo doesn't have to go back next week. But it was always a possibility, and I don't think there is anything we can do about it unless Shanghai say we can keep him. But I hope that they will do that. And we'll wait and see. I mean, long term, I don't want to keep Ighalo. I don't want to spend 300k a week on Ighalo. I don't want to spend 20 million on Ighalo. But I do want him to stay to the end of this loan period because I do think that he would be very useful for us to have somebody of that dedication and quality in the last few games of the season. So we'll see what happens with that one, but I certainly think everybody's on the same page with Ighalo and hoping that Ighalo will stay beyond next week. But we'll have to keep an eye on that because his loan deal does end next week, and they pay him a lot of money. If there is no possibility For United going for Calvin Phillips, surely Leeds will need to sell. We need midfielders, and it's a step up for him, says Kyle Moss. It's also Leeds to Manchester United. And Mark, we will give you Lacazette for Ighalo and Smalling, says Zayn Miasi. I thought Lacazette was an amazing striker, Zayn. Also, a story coming out over the weekend about Pogba. Swap deal with Inter Milan. This is coming from Italian reports. And apparently, I'd read this wrong. Apparently, I thought Inter Milan want Pogba, so they were going to offer us Skriniar. And the debate would then be, would you swap Pogba for Skriniar? But apparently, Manchester United have approached Inter Milan about this. And Inter Milan have said, no, we're not going to give you Skriniar. Look, I don't think there's much truth in this story, to be honest with you. But, that's what we cover on these shows. And I like Skriniar, but I wouldn't swap Skriniar for Pogba. Skriniar's 25, Pogba's 27, but Pogba's a midfielder and Skriniar's a centre-back. And I don't think Skriniar and Maguire work that well. I mean, I've used them on my FIFA career mode. The ball over the top is a little bit of a problem. And, FIFA's not real life, but real life, the ball over the top will be a problem. Skriniar's a little bit quicker than Maguire, but I don't think they complement each other that well anyway. So I think it's just a silly Italian report, really. I can't see United being interested in that, and I certainly can't see United prompting that deal. I think Inter Milan would like Pogba. I don't think Pogba would go to Inter Milan anyway because of his Juventus links. I don't think Pogba would ever go to Man City or Liverpool because of his Manchester United links. So I don't think there's anything in that. I think of more interest, there was a story again coming out from Italy that Italian Juventus are looking to offer up Rabiot, Douglas Costa, Aaron Ramsey as part of a Pogba deal. I mean, look, I'm sure there's people out there that go, ooh, not Ighalo. I'm sure that people would say, ooh, Rabiot, Ramsey and Douglas Costa for Pogba's a really good deal. They are if you're Everton. They're not if you're Manchester United. I mean, if you're Everton and you've produced a player like Paul Pogba, who's going to be one of the world's best midfielders, and Juventus come along and say, we'll give you 3 good players for Pogba, you might do it. But Manchester United, we're trying to get where Juventus are. We're trying to be a Champions League club. We're trying to be a title-winning club. You don't give up a player like Pogba for Ramsey, Costa and Rabiot, all of which have not set the world on fire, all of which are coming towards the back end of their careers. I mean, Rabiot's not, but the other two are. It's a no. It's a no. And I think this Juventus obsession, and I don't know whether it's coming from Pogba or Ighalo or Juventus, it needs to stop. You haven't got the money and you haven't got the players to swap. So shut up, go away and stop it, because we're not going to do that deal. And I would be furious with Manchester United if we did do any deal with Juventus. They've got to give us £100 million, or they've got to give us Ronaldo, De Ligt, Bantanka, someone like that. Those 3 players will take. Rabiot, Costa, whoever else you want to offer up as a swap deal, forget about it. We're not Everton, we're Manchester United, and we're not taking gambles on squad players of yours for a first teamer for us. So, look, I get that you want Paul Pogba. I get that Mino Raiola probably wants Pogba to go there. And I get that Pogba maybe wants to go to Juventus. But we cannot do a deal that doesn't benefit us. And Rabiot's a problem. Ramsey's ex-Arsenal and he's becoming old. And Douglas Costa's inconsistent. We don't want those sort of players. So for me, it's a big fat no. Dylan Zups says, sad for Ighalo, but only 9 games left and Rashford is back. And long term, we can buy a better striker. Calvert-Lewis plus Sancho and Partey equals tasty. Look, I think with the Ighalo thing, Dylan, and I think everyone would agree with this, I think we all want him to stay for the final 9 games of the season. Probably more for him than us, because he's loved it and he really is happy here. But the bottom line is he is owned by Shanghai, and they do pay him 300k a week, and they pay him way more than he's worth. And he has to have loyalty to those people who are doing that. And ultimately, they owe him and own him. And if he goes back, he goes back. We can't do anything. We're playing here on the emotions of Shanghai to say, look, he only wants to stay for a couple of months. It's a dream of his. He'll come back after a couple of months and then we benefit. That's our only card here, because we certainly can't buy him and give him 300k a week. So our only card here is that Shanghai go compassion and go, oh, let him just stay for a couple of more months and then he'll come back. The problem is their season's about to start and they want one of their best players who they're paying 300k a week for. So it's a little impasse at the moment. We'll have to see. But I do agree with you, Dylan. If he does go back, ultimately, if you've got 2 choices, I'll give you 2 choices here then. Shanghai say he's coming back unless you give us £20 million and buy him. Would you buy him? Because for me, no. Not today. I don't know enough. I wanted to see what Ighalo did between that point where lockdown came and May. We never got to see that. So I'm no way am I going to say there's £20 million and 300k a week, come and sign for United. And if that's what Shanghai are going to say, it's bye-bye Ighalo, because that's the thing to do. If we get to keep him for another 9 games and then Shanghai say 20 million or send him back, he might do brilliantly in them 9 games, and I might go, you know what, we'll give you 10. But at this point in time, we cannot buy him. And I just hope that Shanghai let him stay for another 9 games. What else? Rabbi Matondo. We were linked to him for Schalke. He actually started for Schalke yesterday. And he came out after the game and said that I'm aware of the interest from Manchester United, but at the moment I'm just focusing on my Schalke career, which is exactly right. I don't know why we're linked to this lad. I don't see him anywhere near as good as Dan James was at Swansea last year. And, you know, Dan James has took time to adjust. We need a right winger to come in and be a right winger. We don't need somebody who's potentially a right winger. We need a right winger for now. So this Rabbi Matondo story, whether there's anything in it or not, maybe we're scouting him for longer term, but he's got to be allowed to play football in Germany and show what his potential is. At the moment, he's just potential, and United don't need that. We need to go and buy a Sancho. We need to go and buy a right winger who comes straight into that team and makes an impact straight away, not potential. And so yeah, the Rabbi Matondo thing I think needs to sort of disappear really. Back to Italy, Koulibaly again being mentioned. I'm going to say this now and I'm going to say it clear. Manchester United are being used by the Italian press for Koulibaly. I don't know why. I don't know whether Napoli want to sell him and they want a decent price. But we are being used here. We are not in for we are not in for Koulibaly. And we did try and sign Koulibaly 2 years ago under Mourinho, and they rejected us. And I think because we've shown that interest before, it's very easy to say we've shown an interest again. We're not in for Koulibaly, and even if we were in for Koulibaly, we don't have the money for Koulibaly because we've got other positions. I mean, what are we going to do? Sign Sancho for 80 million, sign Bellingham for 20 million, try and sign Werner for 60 million, and then spend another 80 million on Koulibaly. That's 240 million. We ain't going north of 150 million. So we're not in for Koulibaly, but we just keep getting mentioned in relation to Koulibaly, and I think this is a prime example of Manchester United's name being mentioned to try and stir up a bit of interest, but also to drive up a bit of a price. We won't be in for Koulibaly. I'd like us to go for him, but we won't be because it's not a priority position, and he's a very expensive player in that priority position. Sport in Barcelona are reporting that we've bid £30 million for Umtiti. I mean, back to Koulibaly, please. I'd rather believe that one. I don't want Umtiti. I mean, he's a decent centre-back, but I just feel that this is this not what we're trying to avoid? Another player who's not worked out at a big club, so is surplus to requirements, so we swoop in and go, come and try it here. I mean, he's leaving Barcelona for a reason. And that reason is a bit injury prone, but also not good enough. So why are we looking at bringing that player in? I'm tired of bringing in Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juventus, PSG players to our club that aren't good enough. And I know we haven't brought some in from those clubs, but we easily could have done. And I don't think that's what we need to do. We should be getting the Sporting Lisbon players, the Leicester players, the Crystal Palace players, the RB Leipzig players, the players at clubs who are not the top 6, 7, 8 clubs in the world, who are looking for a step up. Not the players at the top 6, 7 clubs in the world who are having to step down because those clubs don't want them anymore. And I can't put it any more clearer than that. Under Ollie, we've seen the new way. Let's not go to the old way that we used to do with Woodward and Van Gaal and Woodward and Mourinho. Get the players from the clubs who are looking to make a step up. Not the players from a club who are looking to take a step down because they're not good enough. Honestly, I think we will be ruthless this transfer window. It's about time too. It's been so many years. Martinez, Bellingham, Sancho would be unreal, says Pete Squire. Well, Rojo is apparently going to go for £12 million, so you shouldn't rule out the fact that we might be able to raise a little bit of money this transfer window as well. I mean, I'm dubious about how we're going to do that because I wonder how many clubs actually do have money. But I hope that we can raise a little bit of money because every 10 million counts, doesn't it? You know, if you get 10 million for Rojo, we know Smalling's available, you know, maybe get Jones. You could raise the Bellingham fee very easily, and then that gives you other areas as well. Rakib says that Lautaro Martinez price is ridiculous. I've got no chance. Well, remember what Fabrizio Romano said a few weeks ago. That was looking at a swap deal between Barcelona and Inter Milan. So, I mean, look, we've just spoken about Skriniar for Pogba. What would you do, Lautaro Martinez for Pogba? You know, would you? I mean, we've got an asset there. If you're talking about a player of real quality, there, I mean, I just don't see, going back to what that Fabrizio said a few weeks ago, that he expects a lot of swap deals this summer because it's going to be a weird transfer market with not a lot of cash floating around, so he expects swap deals. I don't know how Manchester United work for swap deals, but one thing we do have, if that player wants to go, is one of the best assets in the transfer window this summer, and that is Paul Pogba. Pogba for Sancho won't happen because Pogba won't go to Dortmund. It's not big enough. It's not a big enough club for him. But Pogba for Lautaro Martinez, well, I don't think he'd go to Inter. But I think Inter Milan have got players that we would want, and they might swap. Juventus have got players we would want, but they won't swap. They just want us to give us their crap, and Real Madrid the same. But Inter Milan might do that, and it's just whether you would do it as well. I mean, Viper says plus 50 million. What would you do if we got Werner, Sancho, and Bellingham? Says Ryan Torley. I mean, that to me is, and Pogba stays as well. That to me is the summer, and that's the summer that you do to take advantage of this window. A lot of people have been saying this, that there is a fear that Manchester United could really take advantage of this transfer window because of the liquidity that we've got compared to other clubs. So if we never had the lockdown, right, we get Sancho, Liverpool get Werner, Man City get Koulibaly and somebody else, Chelsea get Moussa Dembele and somebody else, Arsenal get a couple of players, Spurs get a couple of players, right? So yeah, we get Sancho, but everybody else strengthens, yeah? And that's probably what would have happened if the lockdown hadn't happened, right? Lockdown happens, we get Sancho, Liverpool can't afford Werner, don't know about City, don't know about Chelsea, Arsenal can't afford players, Spurs can't afford players. 3 of your direct rivals can't buy anybody, but you get Sancho. But on top of that, 3 of your rivals can't buy anybody, but you get Sancho, Bellingham and Werner. So not only do you strengthen more than your rivals, but you double your strength in more than your rivals. So that's a simple sort of explanation of what people are talking about the opportunity United have here. In a normal transfer window, yeah, we get Sancho, but everyone else strengthens. In this transfer window, yeah, we get Sancho, but not everyone else can afford to strengthen. So we therefore close a bigger gap on our rivals because they're not strengthening, but we are. But what if you strengthen a little bit more when they're not? So you actually basically make up 2 years because you can double strengthen compared to their no strengthening. So we could get Sancho, Bellingham and Werner, and Liverpool get no one, and Arsenal get no one, and Spurs get no one. Man City and Chelsea might, but we've just gone and double strengthened our team compared to 3 of our rivals, and that's what if I was Solskjaer, I'd be banging the door down of Woodward, and he can only bang the door if the door's double bolted and he's hiding in his safe with all his money. Then we're not going to buy anybody. But Solskjaer can only push the envelope as far as he can. It's down to Woodward and Glazers to open up the safe and spend the money. But that's what people mean about taking advantage of this window. You've got to be brave, but we are so far behind. That bravery could really close the gap. And look, Werner's going to be hard to do, especially after yesterday. People are going to be looking at Werner. Everyone's going to be looking at Werner. I don't know why people think it's between Liverpool and United. It could be Real Madrid now. You just don't know. But United do need to be brave. I really think that and I think if they are, there's a real opportunity there. Please smash a like on the video if you're watching, by the way. Nice to do a morning live show. Liverpool fans are worried about United sniffing around, says Ryan Torley. Well, I also would say Bundesliga, Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund tomorrow night at 5:30. I'll be doing a watch along on Mark Goldbridge, That's Football. But the point I'm making here is the Bundesliga's back, and it's the only thing that's back. So yesterday afternoon, how many people would have watched RB Leipzig against Mainz if the Liga, Premier League, Championship, everything was back? Not many people. Werner's hat-trick would not have got much publicity yesterday on a normal footballing weekend. But because it's the only football, everybody's talking about Werner because it's the only thing they can watch. So it won't just be Liverpool looking at him anyway. It'll be Manchester United. It'll be Chelsea. It'll be maybe Manchester City. It will certainly be Real Madrid. It might be Barcelona. It would certainly be Bayern Munich. There'll be a lot of people looking at Werner now. And I don't know why Werner's not going to Bayern Munich because he is young German and they like to hoover up their talent from there. So look, Werner will be very, very hard to do, but I would like to see Manchester United in that equation because I think he would add something to Manchester United. And I also think as well that if Man United got Sancho and Werner, next season we would go from fighting to 4th to God knows what. I'd say definitely 3rd, but you never know. that style, that star quality added to our team, you know, who knows what we could do next year. I would never be stupid and say we'd be in a title race, but maybe we'd be in a title race. You just don't know. I don't think that's going to happen, but you know, it could. I think Timo Werner and Jadon Sancho are two of the most exciting players in world football at the moment that aren't at big clubs. And if you got those at your club, they're both hungry players who want to succeed as well. So yeah, they would be good. But and I'll be absolutely honest. Liverpool are probably favourites. If Liverpool get Werner, I think they'll win the league next year again. United need to streamline their transfer plan and execute. Get in, get out. Woodward and Glazers have a great opportunity to redeem sub-credibility, says Drew Hansen. Exactly. And I've always said this about the Glazers and Woodward. Everybody deserves a second chance. I don't know whether they do. Woodward does deserve a second chance because he's made some right clangers. But we're all going to give them a second chance. This is the summer to take that chance. And I hope he's going to take it. Our net spend over the last 10 years has been embarrassing. We ain't going to be ruthless in this market. Ollie will be screwed over this summer, says Sean Turner. And I understand that trepidation. I do understand that suspicion and wariness. I think Sean's absolutely right. But we're sat here waiting to be proved wrong. It's an opportunity for the Glazers and Woodward to continue the good work of the last few months that's been the public relations change because they've appointed somebody to do it. But it has worked. Let's continue it this summer. Apparently, I was reading something this morning that Manchester United have said to 3 clubs that have loaned their players, I think Hearts and a couple of lower league clubs, have said you don't need to pay the fee for the players because they've not been playing, and it helps those clubs as well. I can't remember what the players are. I presume Joel Pereira was at Hearts. I think Ethan Hamilton was at a lower league club as well, and there's somebody else as well. And basically, Manchester United have reportedly said to those clubs, you don't need to pay us the loan fee because that will help those clubs out, and they've not been playing for 2 months. So that shows you the sort of good work, if that's true, that Manchester United are doing. This summer is big. It's really big. And it's a real opportunity. And look, if we just get Sancho, is that the end of the world? Of course it's not. But we could go that little bit more. We could do something epic this transfer window. I don't want Josh King. He's not up to standard, says Jordan P. Well, we touched on Josh King last night, didn't we? This is not a signing Manchester United should be making. I agree with what Adam said on the Sunday night show last night. This is a January transfer window signing when you're desperate. It's not a summer signing when you're trying to build something. I think Josh King's about 28. His age is irrelevant, really, but he's not a top... I mean, do Liverpool want Josh King? Do Arsenal... Well, Arsenal probably do. Do Spurs want Josh King? Do Chelsea want Josh King? Do Man City want Josh King? No. How do you close a gap? And it's a massive gap between us and Liverpool and us and City. How do you close a gap on those two clubs? That gap's there for a reason. That gap's there because they're better than us. They're better coached. They've got better players. They're better than us. You don't close a gap on people that are way ahead of you by signing Josh King from Bournemouth. And I know he'd be a supplementary striker, but your supplementary striker could be Timo Werner, who fights with Martial and Rashford to start and gets everybody up a level. That's what you need. You know, and Solskjaer knows this. Like, Solskjaer was on the bench with Sheringham in the European Cup final, and they both came on and scored goals because they were both top-class strikers. Manchester United, Martial's having a bad game. Get your kit on, Josh. You know, it's not the same, is it? Josh King is a Bournemouth striker. I don't think he's that amazing. And it worries me because he's Norwegian and his agent's probably mates with Solskjaer. Are we doing mates rates if we go and do that sort of thing? Because mates rates in football doesn't win you titles. We need to be far, far better than that. And I'll be very surprised if Manchester United are in for Josh King. I know we looked at him at the end of the January transfer window, but that was literally the last day of the transfer window, and it was desperation. You can't go back for that in the summer when you've had time to plan. Josh King, last day of the transfer window, desperation. I'm glad it didn't work. Let's not make the same mistake in a full transfer window. He is not the quality of player that we need. We're Manchester United. And you know what? I would say this, and this is the harshest thing I can say, but it's the bluntest thing I can say. We are third in the league. It's Christmas. We're 6 points off Man City and Liverpool by some miracle next season. We're third in the league. We're just before Christmas. We're away to Leicester. If we win, we're 3 points behind Liverpool and Man City for Christmas. And we're thinking, wow, what a turnaround. But we're drawing with Leicester. There's 10 minutes to go. Leicester are down to 10 men. They're not attacking, they're defending. Martial's exhausted. He's got a bit of a knock. You go to the bench and you bring Josh King on. That's not the sub that Manchester United should make when they're trying to get back in a title race and they need a goal. Martial's took a knock. We're up against 10 men. We're away to Leicester. If we win, we're 3 points off the top at Christmas. Josh King comes on. It's not that, and that's as clear as I can say it. It's not about hating on Josh King. It's not about Josh King not being a good enough player. I could say the same about plenty. Callum Wilson, I could say the same about him. Calvert-Lewin, you know, I mean, maybe Calvert-Lewin actually has the potential to be better than he is, actually, to be fair. But yeah, Martial has to come off for a knock and you chuck Josh King on. It's not the same as you chuck Solskjaer on, you chuck Tevez on, you chuck Zlatan on, you know, you chuck Van Persie on, you chuck Louis Zaha on. You go through the years of United and you chuck Brian McClare on, you know. United have had brilliant backup striker. Hernandez. You chuck Hernandez on. You chuck Josh King on. It's not good enough. And I don't know why we're trying to buy or linked to buying backup strikers that just aren't good enough. Your backup striker should be as good as they can be. If Lukaku had wanted to stay, I would have been happy for him to be our backup striker because he's got goals in him. Fair play to Lukaku. He didn't want to be a bench player. But you try and buy a player that's as good as it can be. So when Martial's got a knock, you're chucking on Moussa Dembele, or you're chucking on Werner, or Werner's already on the pitch, so you're chucking on Rashford. That's what United need to get to. Josh King, not good enough. Why has no one mentioned Bale, says Bodge Meister, because we're not going to sign Gareth Bale, ultimately. Yeah, we're not going to sign Gareth Bale. We're not in for King. I hope we're not. And can't sign Josh King. Even Ighalo for 20 million is questionable. Better to build a squad by trying to put cherries on top of what we have, not buy a bunch of bananas, says Haruki Nagagawa. Well, I mean, I quite like bananas on the top of a cake, but I know what you mean. The saying is cherry on a cake, not bananas on a cake. But there's loads of strikers that just wouldn't be, that would fall into that Josh King category. Callum Wilson would be one. Who else? I mean, I'm thinking of Bournemouth players, but Timo Pukki is another one. You know, he would be another one. A lot of people say, oh, get Pukki, he's a good goal scorer, but he's a Norwich striker who actually, when you look at his stats, they ain't that good. Everybody put him in their fantasy Premier League team because he scored a load of goals at the start of the season. He's not a Manchester United striker. So we need to do better. We need to do better than that, and that's why this transfer window is really big, because I think Maguire, Dan James, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Bruno Fernandes are all very good signings. But it's not your first 3 or 4 signings, it's your next 3 or 4 signings that will define Solskjaer. Anyone can have a good start. Ollie had a great start for 3 months and then it went wrong. He's had 4 good signings at the moment. His next 3 or 4 have got to be as good as the last 4. You go and bring a Josh King in, you go and bring a Declan Rice in, and you are running the risk of dropping back where every other manager did. We need to put the foot down. We need to look at what we're doing well, and we need to bring quality in that's going to make us better. I always think that any signing you make should make your team better in some way. And there are certain signings that we have been linked to that, to me, don't make us better. Werner's the perfect option because he can play left and right wing too, says Xavier. I've always said that Werner's the one I want. It's going to be difficult to do it, but I don't think, and I know Saeed said last night that he wants Harry Kane. I think Harry Kane's a specialist number 9. I think Raul Jimenez is a specialist number 9. I'm not opposed to that, but a specialist number 9 can only play as a number 9, and that's Martial or them. And I think Martial, whilst he needs competition, I think fluidity across that front 3 is the way United play. So if you bring Werner in, yeah, he'll push Martial, but he might push Rashford out. He might push Sancho out. Greenwood can do the same. Martial can go to the left if he needs to. Rashford can go to the right. He can probably go up front. Sancho can go right or left. So that's what we need. We need some fluidity in our team. And I think Werner would be perfect for that. Apparently we're looking at Rabiot, says CJ. Well, we were looking at Rabiot a year ago as well. I worry about, if we get Rabiot, I'll back Rabiot, but I worry about Rabiot because I wonder why he went from PSG to Juventus and refused us a year ago, but now we're suddenly good enough because you flopped at Juventus. Do we want that type of a player? Please smash a like on the video if you're watching, and our specialist number 9 should be the backup. He comes on only for the last 10 minutes if we need goals, says Doobie Guy. And Werner would 100% start striker for us because he bangs goals but could rotate around with Martial and Rashford, etc., says Ryan Thorley. I mean, I think Ryan makes a good point. The thing that makes me think that we wouldn't get Werner is that he's so good he'd have to start. But who would you drop for him? And that's the problem. Rashford's got the potential to be world class. Martial's got the potential to be that as well. So has Sancho. So has Werner. So has Greenwood. You've suddenly got 5 players for 3 positions. It takes a brave manager to do it, but if you did it, my God, the rotation of that front 3, plus you're going to get injuries. So I think I would do it. What did I miss about Ighalo, Mark Dyer? So the headline is that Ighalo is out of loan deal next week and that Shanghai want him back, which means Manchester United are powerless to keep him and we may have seen the last of Ighalo. Ighalo wants to stay. Shanghai want him back. What they say is going to be key, because if they want him back and they're paying him 300k a week, they'll get him back. But can Ighalo sort of play on their heartstrings a bit and say, please, this is my dream, let me stay for the final 9 games? We'll have to wait and see, but it's up in the air at the moment. I'll be back at 8 o'clock tonight. Please smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you are new. There is football this afternoon at 3:30. Goldbridge career mode on Mark Goldbridge. That's football. But we'll be back at live at 8 o'clock tonight. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Nice to do a live show on the transfer show, because it's not normally live, but it's bank holiday in the UK. Have a good day. It's a nice sunny day in the UK. And get your t-shirts, link in the video description. I'll speak to you all later.